The next stop on our travels was the St. Lawrence River, Lake Ontario, and Thousand Islands Waterway. This was for the FLW Costa Northern Series second tournament of the season. The St. Lawrence and the Lake Ontario make up one of the largest fisheries that we ever get to fish. There's tons and tons of water to fish. There's tons of different habitat. There's weedy areas, there's rocky areas, areas with current, there's areas without it. There's plenty of different things to fish. Going into this event, I knew that Lake Ontario would have the potential to generally win the tournament. In years past, if you study tournament results, I spent a lot of my time on the lake. I also did fish the river some as well. Put in plenty of time idling around, looking for fish on the graph, fishing pretty deep overall, but also checked shallow too. Ended up committing beforehand to fish the lake and live or die there. After battling the wind and waves for the first 2 days, getting out and back on Lake Ontario, ended up not being able to put together a solid pattern, hit the road for Douglas Lake. We arrived at Douglas right after they had been getting a lot of rain. They started pushing a lot of water through the dams, but the water was abnormally high for that time of year. They used Douglas Lake as a flood control lake on the French Broad River there, and normally they're drawing the lake down for winter pool and had the water level down a lot lower than it was. It's a place I've spent a lot of time at. I practiced everywhere from the dam the whole way up the river, about as far as you could go. With the conditions changing every day, I knew this event would be a challenge. On boat 4. Our season came to an end on Friday after a pretty tough event. Luckily, we were able to go out the next day on Saturday and take out Cam and the guys from the Tennessee Smokies crew. We launched down by the dam and ended up having a really, really good day on the water. Had a great time hanging out with them, catching a few fish. Didn't hurt the cause either. Look forward to getting home for a bit and hit the road again for some more cookouts and fishing trips. Here we got to meet Chris Walsh and the whole crew. Had a really good time meeting all of them. The cookout went really well. It's about to rain here, so we got to make sure we get back, don't get the boat too wet, and heading to Columbus on Wednesday. We'll see Wes and the guys soon. We had a fun time with Wes and the crew at Huntington Park before it's time to head out to the Midwest for 2 weeks worth of cookouts and fishing trips. Looks like no fishing today. It's blowing about 40 miles an hour, so it looks like we're going to head to Topgolf with the guys from the KC Royals. Had to do a little bit of an audible here considering it's 90 degrees in Kansas on October 3rd. Not particularly normal, but we're going to have a good time with them and make the most of this. Our last minute change up to doing Topgolf with the KC Royals crew ended up being a great time. The wind followed us all the way to Omaha that evening, as well as a nice cold front greeting us in the morning, along with 40-mile-an-hour winds once again. Still made the most of a cold day in Omaha, had a great cookout with College World Series and Omaha Storm Chasers grounds crews. We hit the road from Omaha and made it into Iowa later in the evening. The next day we hit the water with Andrew and Seth from the Quad City River Bandits. Had a really fun time with them. Pretty good weather overall, and Andrew ended up capping it off with a really nice one before we hit the road for Minnesota. Over the weekend and before our Twins cookout, I hit the water with my good buddy Austin on Mille Lacs Lake, one of the premier smallmouth fisheries in the country. We were able to catch some really, really nice fish, including one that was almost 7 and a handful that were in the 5 to 6 pound range. We went out both days and had a really, really good time. That Monday I hit the road to get some supplies before our cookout with the Twins guys. I made my way to Target Field, and we ended up setting up the cookout in the bullpen, which was really cool. The temperature dropped a little bit. It was a little chilly that day, but ended up having a really good time talking fishing, hanging out with all the crew there before hitting the road for Chicago. We arrived late Monday night to Chicago. Tuesday morning we hit the road to get some supplies and head to Wrigley Field. The guys were nice enough to escort me right into Wrigley, where we parked the truck and boat right on the warning track and set up our cookout. It was a really cool scenery, great weather that day, everything worked out extremely well. Enjoyed hanging out with Destin and the whole crew before we hit the road again for Michigan. We arrived in Michigan that evening and did some late night rigging to get prepared for our upcoming DuraEdge fishing trips. Took out Zach and Jose from the lug nuts first, and then Kelly and his crew from the Great Lakes Loon. Had a really good time meeting all of them. Ended up catching some fish, even got Mike Robinson from Home Field in on some of the action as well.